Hey YouTube, welcome back to another week's episode of Three Simple Men Making Their Way to the Galaxy. I'm Tom, with me is Ryan and Mike. As you know, we're continuing our journey through the Acolyte, taking a break from the Clone Wars. And boys, can I say this? What a toxic family right there.
Yeah, definitely a lot going on in this one. It's episode 3, Destiny. So third episode of the Acolyte, and we start right off Brendock, which we've heard so much about, but have yet to actually see. 16 years ago. So it's our first flashback episode and not or first flashback, and it turns out an entire flashback episode. Um, which was interesting. I don't know if we've ever actually in any of the Star Wars shows get a full episode that's entirely a flashback. Certainly not yet. We might get something in in one of the other spin-off series like Mandalorian or something like that. But we got a ways to
You
go
won?
till we get there. And Obi-Wan. But I don't know if it's a full episode in Obi-Wan. I think it's just a
A lot
scene.
of flashbacks, so.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, again, me and Mike have already seen the episode. Tom, this was your first viewing, so I'd like to throw it back to you and just get your thoughts.
Alright, so right off the bat, we see another thing of witches. Like you and I know we've seen witches before, like through watching the Clone Wars. Like we've watched the episodes or played the video games with the Fallen Jedi, with the Witches of Dathomir. This one was interesting because like I'm a little confused in the sense where it's like they're calling it the thread. And at the first it's like the fate of like many of like they're connected. I'm like, in my mind, like I like history, and I thought about the three sisters in Greek mythology that have the thread that you've seen it in that Disney animated movie Hercules, where they cut the thread and it ends a person's life. I'm like, that's where I went, and then you see them battling, and it's just pretty much like technically what we're seeing is what we know is the force. But I just more of like I'm a little confused in the sense where it's just like, well, you're using the force, but you're treating it as like the thread of destiny. Like everything is connected to a person or to, what you want to call fate. It's so I'm like, my mind's just trying to process what they're trying to deliver. Overall, the episode was very interesting, so that's my take on the episode in general. But yeah, like I said, I'm still trying to process everything because there was a lot going on, and I'm trying to grasp or understand. You know, like I said, not trying to be toxic. I'm trying to keep an open mind, but it was just
Definitely a change of pace, and I think you're not the only one who was caught off guard with that. Because I mean, we're more used to the Jedi, the Sith, the Force, and we only get like brief, understanding the Night Sisters. But we're dealing with the Coven, who is not related to the Night Sisters. They've got a different perspective on it, calling it the thread, and you do see a little bit of some Force action going on, whether they're doing the push or the pull, or may try and use it on the bug. But it's definitely a different perspective on it when I first watched it.
So I think Tom, you bring up a good point, and to kind of expand on it more, um, if the Jedi practice a religion, right? I mean, that's for lack of a better term, that's really
they
what it.
literally call them monks. Like the
Yeah,
British call them
they've done it
monks.
twice now. But they do. They practice a religion and they have their beliefs, and part of what their religion is to explain the Force. And it's not unlike reality in our world where we have untangible things like death and the afterlife, creation, where you have, in some cases, you have obviously science, but you also have different religious beliefs to explain those things, different religions, whether it's uh, Christianity, Judaism,
Hinduism, Muslim,
Muslim, you have
atheism.
all those different religions, but at the end of the day, they're similar in the sense that they're belief systems to
It's
understand.
both the core of their values.
Yeah, but also to understand some untangible things, that faith, right? It's all about faith. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing here is the Jedi have a religion, and it's how they choose to understand the Force, which is something that they don't exactly know. And science gets into it a little bit, right? With the M count that they find when they check the blood, but it's still kind of, how do we explain this? How should this be utilized? And that's the Jedi religion. You would then have the Sith beliefs, which are a different religion, basically, but also to explain this power. And I would say that this coven of witches on Brendok have a religion, and it's their way to explain this not as tangible, all encompassing thing that's the Force. So if you kind of look at it that way, I think it makes a lot of sense. But it's definitely interesting. I think at first, my first watch, which I think probably falls in line with a lot of other people's comments at first, was the weird singing and chanting was kind of like, what the hell's going on here? This is weird.
Yeah.
But then watching it a second time, I'm kind of like, well, this is actually very classical coven of witches. Like, outside of this is what, like, if you see like other films, other things with witches, it's very common to meet in the forest, have your chance, have your spells, have your stuff like that. So it didn't bother me as much the second time.
Like I said, right off the intro, is toxic. Like, in a sense, like the sister May is, and it's just like, you're gonna be a witch. You're gonna be a witch. We see this poor little girl in Osha who's just like, she's trying to make her way. She's trying to find her own. Like, the title is called Destiny, but is it her destiny to be a witch? Because you can see the resilience. Like, I really want my own identity. I don't want to be just a twin. I don't want to be, another witch. I want to make my own way. I mean, this is something that resonates for anyone who's watching. Even with us. You're trying to make your way through life. You want to find your own destiny.
They're the two mothers. It's Mother Coral, who's the Zabrak
Yeah,
species, and then you have Mother Anastasia, who's the human.
yeah.
And this actually brings me my quote to help you explain this. So the kind of two quotes I pulled out, when the Jedi arrive and ask Mother Anastasia, where is their father? And the response is, they have no father. And then later on, pretty shortly after that conversation with the Jedi, when the Jedi leave, Anastasia and Quarrel have an argument, and Quarrel says, with regard to the girls, I carried them, and then Anastasia says, I created them. So I think what we're getting here is, because the where is their father, they have no one, I carry, it's very reminiscent of Qui-Gon's conversation in,
Yeah.
and so if the thought process here is Anakin was born of the Force, I think it's safe to say that this is another situation, similar at least to that, where these twins were created of the Force. And that's why you think that you get, like, my thought is, you had Anakin, who exhibited light side, dark side throughout his,
See, my
spoilers.
thought was like,
Oh,
I thought of the twins as a metaphor so far, as a the force being split. You got the light side in Osha, and you got the dark side in May. Granted, first of all, Anakin's still the chosen one, but No, that's just me being with the toxic fans. But no, it's one of those things where it's so weird, or not weird. It's just very curious that, we're seeing all this go down, and there's really no, for me, there's like, all right, they're created by the Force, or you got two witches that created them. I'm like, but still, there's no context of being it more clear. It's like, yeah, I carried them, I created them. Like, it's like you keep using the word thread. I'm like, what is the thread? It's like, is it the Force? Is it your interpretation of the Force? Or is it your form of magic? Because we've had the Jedi with the Force. We had the Night Sisters on Dathomir during, what we saw in the Clone Wars, and we're getting ahead of ourselves, but or the Jedi Fallen games. So what is it that's happening? That's all it comes down to.
Yeah.
That's what's going through my mind.
I mean, I definitely think it's the Force that they're referring to, and I think it is, like I said, it's just their interpretation. We've heard the Force in other things described as, it combine it right, no, I can't even remember the old quote.
It binds the galaxy together. Whatever Obi-Wan said in New
Yeah.
It binds us, it guides us.
Yeah, I mean that's the thread binds. So I mean I think it's the same thing. But one thing I thought was kind of weird is that like when you see a thread when she's holding it.
And going back to what I started in the beginning, because when I thought of thread, I thought about the three sisters in ancient Greek mythology, where they cut the thread to end someone's life.
Yeah.
I actually have the term, because I looked it up before. In ancient Greek religion and mythology, the Morai, or the three personifications of destiny, there were three sisters: Clotho, the spinner; Lachis, the elater; and Atropos, the inevitable, a metaphor for death.
Well, so interesting. So they control destiny, but in this, Mother Anastasia, when Osha says, I want to go, I want to leave, I want to be with other children, I want to be a Jedi. And she says, we'll talk about it. She mentions like there is no destiny. We're free to make our own choices. Um, I don't know if she says that then. I might have messed that up, but she does say that in
He's
this,
said that too as
you know.
well.
And she says, there is no destiny. She says, and then she tells her, if you want to pull the thread, do it. So I don't think, obviously cutting the thread in this isn't necessarily supposed to be death. Maybe it is. I don't see it that way. But again, it's,
So far, technically, we already saw two dead Jedi masters who were involved with this episode.
well, no, yeah. And then during this kind of the fallout of this, of May not wanting Osha to go, and we see she starts a fire. And then while Osha's trying to flee the fire and escape, Soul shows up, manages to save her, doesn't save May. Well, we see May fall, and then we see Osha, Soul show up and catch Osha. And then he ushers her away past what appears to be the entire coven dead, her dead mother, all just scattered about a room. And then
Admiral Grievous, by the way.
and then we get the reveal that May survived her fall and shows back up at the Bunta tree, which we see in the beginning of this episode. And interestingly enough, the Bunta tree is the tree that the poison comes from that was used to kill, or for
Dude, I called it.
Morgan to kill himself.
Not to sound like a jackass right now, I just want to say this. Like, I didn't know what the name was. I just called it because of the color. I'm like, oh, is that the pickle tree?
But so yeah, so it is the Bunta
Okay.
tree. And
No.
then we get this constant bickering, like you said, the toxic family between Osha and May, obviously, but also between Coral and Anasea. It seems like Coral is always like ready to fight, and Anasea is very like, no, 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 no need to fight. Stay calm. Hide the girls. We'll talk to the Jedi.
All
Well,
it took was a Jedi Wookiee not only using the Force, but his animal instincts of like smelling them out. He
no,
smelled them out. He's just like, hey, you got two kids hiding in the back there. Children, come here. Which, it's you see that bitterness between the two mothers, where it's just like, to anyone who can attest to this in sense where it's just like with parents in general, they're like they want to know what's best for their kid. I mean, I don't know if you guys have been through it, or like I've been through it. It's like what my mom wants, what's best for me, what my dad wants, what's best for me. But in the end, it's just pretty much it's what the kid wants. This is what Osha is about. It's like she wants to make her own way. She does not want to be a witch overall. She was like when we watched the first two episodes, she was very happy on that station, working for the Trade Federation, just being that I forgot the term, but let's just call her a repair person.
it's a mechanic.
Yep.
Yes, thank you. She
You're
was
welcome.
so content and so happy with it because it's a whole new life for her.
Yeah, and we still don't know why she left or was fired, kicked out of the Jedi Order. I mean, the end of this, we get the reveal that, Soul offers to train her as a Padawan. But yeah, we still haven't gotten an answer to why she left. So hopefully maybe we will, maybe we won't.
And this
Uh,
episode also gives me a theory about the idea of why Corbin decided to take that poison.
yeah, I mean, we do have a moment with him. We should talk about that. What happens?
He was, I thought he was a Jedi Master at the time when it happened. He was a Padawan.
Yeah, so he went
There
from
was young
Padawan
guilt in that.
to
There was
somehow
young
became a master quickly, and then
16 years, yeah.
unless I mean, it's not possible that he became the master in his meditation state, right?
No, I mean,
No,
I'm sure he probably had I mean, things have happened over the 16-year period, so maybe when he did, but again, we don't know what really happened there, why he took the vow, but yeah, it's just a lot has changed, and I mean and I know like initially when we were talking, it's like, well, now we got Master Andara played by Carrie Ann Moss, and like she's killed within the first few minutes, and now we see her back, so there's definitely a story going on here with the Jedi, and
Yeah, it's nice to see her back too. I was definitely happy to be like, okay, at least we get more of her. Um, but
I
yeah, I
need
don't think
Carry On
we've ever
Moss.
seen somebody's
I'm gonna
eyes
say
turn.
that. I just need more Carry On Moss. Come on, let's. I mean, I love her in the Matrix. I need more of her.
Mhm.
Have we ever seen a character's eyes like turn black like that in like some sort of like,
No, and
yeah,
this
that's where it's
Not
like
in Star Wars.
I
Not in
don't think
Star
that
Wars.
was yeah, I don't think that was the
I've
first.
seen it. Not to go off to Harry Potter. I've seen it in Harry Potter. I've seen it
Yeah.
like other movies. I've never seen it in Star Wars though.
Yeah, so like the question is like, was that something of the Force or is that some other witchcrafty magic thing? Like what we don't know.
I'm gonna go with more witchcraft, possibly because I think that's more a controllable environment where you can control a person. The Force, like you can, it's as you know, Qui-Gon says, it's an ally. It's not a weapon. It's to guide you. It can do whatever it feels like it needs to. I believe. And that's why I got to the confused with the witches. It's like maybe they do believe in the Force. I hope they believe in the Force. But maybe they interpret it in their own way, like you said, their own religion, if you would.
yeah, and like we don't really know too much of a backstory. All we know is that they were exiled to Brundok, and people didn't really approve of their ways, and you could tell they were very wary of the Jedi, because I think there was like one part, it's like, oh, you've seen the Jedi, and at first they thought they were at another part of Brundage, and they just show up all of a sudden. They apparently slice the platform to get in, and they're intruding on this ascension ceremony, which is part of the ritual that we talked about earlier. So yeah, it's very, very tense at first, and I think you guys pointed that out earlier, where Anastasia is more, let's be civil about this, and Mother Coral's like, let's get all the weapons ready. We need to defend ourselves, defend the coven.
Also brings me up to another point. I think Mother Coral was, I think deep down inside, she's like, if we ever want to have a chance of peace, we need to call out the hypocrisy of the Jedi. So it's like, we look like we're about to attack, or like we look like we're about to be aggressive.
Well, I think it was like Anastasia who said that they're all knowing Jedi, ignorant of their surroundings. So that was another quote that I picked up. So you can definitely tell, again, they're not a fan of the Jedi, and really, I mean, they were very stern about, like, you're not touching Osha May, you're not taking the test, and apparently we see that trick that Anastasia pulled where she had Torben under some kind of control to, like, get out of here if you want your Padawan back. But eventually, with Osha, like, I want to take the test. I mean, she relinquishes, but that, yeah, and we also see that the Jedi trials at a young age, and it's called back to what we saw in episode 1 with like the little viewing thing. But unfortunately, we see, they're being told,
it's like, just lie and lie. And I think deep down inside, after May went in first, Soul was picking up on the idea of, are they actually?
I mean, you could definitely tell with Osha, because like first she's saying the wrong answers, and then I think she slipped, and then it's just like, all right, what do you want? And then, yeah, I mean, we see Master both in Dara and Soul, like, tell the truth, like, tell us what you really want. And
About that thumbs up though, I'm like, what is?
and
It's something you do, I guess, where it triggers it. I don't know. Try doing a thumbs up again. Do it like more closer to your body and like this. I have no idea, man. I don't know what you're doing.
Like I said,
maybe those Zoom
I'm gonna rewatch this episode and then
See if you see it.
see if I see it.
I mean, Mike, you saw it, right? I'm not going crazy.
No,
All right.
I saw it too.
I know it's the second time this has happened. I won't point it out in the.
I do have a Bible. I do have a holy water, just in case. You never know. Hey, boys. All my demon friends. I'm here.
It's like, what?
We'll see what's going on. But yeah, that's back-to-back times that's happened. But yeah. Overall,
I did note I saw something. I actually read it without giving away spoilers. But I want to say, Tom, you mentioned maybe in an earlier episode that the lightsabers looked like Lego lightsabers.
yeah.
So I found out that they did that because these lightsabers are heavier because they actually are functional. They're not using just plain like metal rods and having it CGI'd in. They're actually using light up lightsabers when they do the fighting and trigger them, because they wanted to actually capture the real light on the characters' faces from the lightsabers when filming. So that's why they're actually bigger, because they are actually like
They're not using the
lit up
using
lightsabers.
I think we saw that in I think Obi-Wan, where they actually had to light up, where they emulated the light in brightness and then the contrast, instead of what we got from the prequels, where it was just like a red, blue, green stick.
Yeah, so that's and then they do the CGI. There's no CGI on these lightsabers. They're actually functional. I mean, functional lightsabers where that when they're actually using them, all the people filming are actually seeing that light also, so they can react with it, like use it, like right the previous episode. I think we talked about urine, and it was you know, oh, he's using it as a light, like that was actually being used to light up that set. So that's kind of the thing, and so that's why they're a little bigger, because there's obviously batteries and stuff in there.
But still, I gotta
Pretty
say,
cool.
god damn, you thick.
Yeah, no, it's that, but it's definitely it's very cool. In my opinion, I think that's very cool that they're getting, because
No, I
the
have
way
no hatred towards it at all. Like
more
I,
more
it's very
practical effects, and I love practical effects over CGI. So it's very cool. Anything else on this episode?
I can't wait till next week.
All right, Mike.
All right, it's a wrap. Thank you everyone for joining Three Simple Men, making their way through the galaxy. Hit that like, comment, subscribe, and come back next week for some more Acolyte content. May the force be with you, always.